And a reminder, the first 30 minutes of this podcast are available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google, and many of the major platforms. The full podcast is available at www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. SRBmedia.
Good evening, Gavin.
Good evening, TC, and how are you? What kind of week have you had? And welcome all to our weekly podcast, Terry Curran's Curran View with the Isle of Hillsborough. Mr. Terry Curran, how are you, mate?
Not too bad. I mean, what kind of week have I had? With the weather like it is, Gabby, there's nothing you can do. You can't get anywhere. You can't get around. But thank God for some football.
Absolutely, T. We're going to be talking a little bit later on in the podcast. Sheffield Wednesday have got an important game tonight, currently lying third in League One, produced some magic moments this season. What magic moments have you produced for us this week? And a player sadly passed away, the great Pele, produced so many memories that were golden and memories that shall never be forgotten. So we're going to dedicate the podcast to the memory of Edson Arantes de Nascimento, the GOAT.
Yeah, let's give his respect to him. Rest in peace, Pele, as we all knew him. If not the greatest, one of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah.
And obviously, it comes to us all at end of the day. But it's still sad when you lose a great person and a great ambassador for football like Pele.
Absolutely, T. 82 years of age. Used to think when I was young that 82 was really old. Now I'm getting to my 60s. I think 82 is rather young. But when he was young, 17, scored a hat-trick in the semi-final and 2 goals in the final. I mean,
Sweden, 1958.
Absolutely. And one of those goals that he scored, for me, is the greatest goal that I've ever seen at the World Cup finals. At the World Cup finals, I remember, I think it may have been BBC or Match of the Day. I think it was Match of the Day. They were asking and they were giving their greatest goals of all time in the World Cup. Sadly, didn't remember Pele, but I have noted that all of these people or these establishments, shall we say, that always forget the greats, are putting it out on their social networks and their networking channels now about Pele. Like Alan always says, they put the statues up when they've passed away. Never remember them when they're alive.
I know, which is sad, really, because
It is.
like Bobby Moore for England, a different type of player, defender, but absolutely sublime. Yes, he scored that that many absolutely unbelievable goals. But the biggest thing I'll always remember Pele of was in the final when he let the ball run past him.
Yeah.
And he let it run past the goalkeeper, and then he ran round him, and then he didn't miss kid it, but he didn't catch it right, and it goes wide. But if that had gone in, the initiative to think of that in such an important game would have been an all-time great. But the magic moment of that for me will always stick in my mind. And again, his header when Banks pulled off a save, which was out of this world. All great memories of Pele then.
Absolutely, T. So many brilliant memories, and memories that will never fade, never die. They will live forever, and the legacy of Pele will live forever. And also, as well, of course, he played at Hillsborough against Sheffield Wednesday for Santos, didn't
Santos,
he?
Yes.
Was you there that day, T?
No, I'd be about 12, I think. I didn't go to that game. It was a full house. It was unbelievable. Seen little clips of it, but I wasn't there. No, I wasn't there that day.
So what magic moments have you sourced for us this week, mate?
Well, I only go for one.
Yes, you do.
But I've gone for a few. I've gone for a few today for the podcast, and I'm going to give you 2 players to watch.
Go on.
The pass for João Moutinho for Wolves equalised. The pass itself was absolutely sublime.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I didn't see it. I was at Villa Park, so I wasn't watching that game live, and I haven't seen it since.
the best goal I've seen this weekend, and I've seen a few. The best goal was a guy called Ben Sager, plays for Monaco. 17 scored, two
Yeah.
absolute unbelievable players. And I'm going to give you another player to watch. So remember this name. And it isn't easy. It's easy to pick these out because they play for the elite teams.
Yeah.
But this Ben Sager for Monaco looks hell of a player. And Lewis for Manchester City, you know, they look absolutely sublime players. And look, I'm going to hold my hands up. It ain't hard to pick these players in these teams, but they still have to produce it with the great players and not fear playing against them or fear playing with them. Because sometimes, it can make them freeze. But obviously, these look to absolutely superstars in the making. Ben Sager for Monaco. Have you seen him, Gabby?
Is that the fella that made his debut that scored the brace?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's the boy.
Yeah, I did post up on the Curran View. I don't think you can see it at the moment. You're currently in Facebook jail, aren't you? So I did post.
More time in prison.
Oh no, you have than the craze.
Than the craze. Unbelievable, Jeff. And another goal I want to mention to is Rashford's the other night against they're playing Man United. Bloody hell.
They played against the 1-3-0 against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
Yep, your old team.
Forest, yeah. I cannot forget Forest. I thought that was a great. They've tried that in training. It looks at that because he's come off. I know they should have come with him, but sometimes it just catches you asleep. And so them's my magic moments, Gary.
Yep. I have had a little mooch around the YouTube socials, and from what I've seen of the game,
I watched that Monaco game, me.
I didn't see it. I was down at Villa Park on. God, do you know what? I forget what day of the week.
Liverpool played Liverpool Tuesday.
Yeah, it was bank holiday. It was on the Monday, wasn't it?
Monday
it was
night.
Boxing Day. Yeah, 5:30 live on Amazon Prime. I don't know what your take is, but I mean, my mum and dad weren't very happy because they couldn't watch it. They haven't got Amazon Prime, but they're customers of Sky, and I do think it's an absolute disgrace that throughout the year you're paying your subscriptions and all your money to watch Sky, and then at Christmas they take it off Sky and put it on Amazon Prime. I think it's an absolute disgrace. But, that's by the by. But I was at Villa Park and watched it.
It'll not be long before women's main games on Sky.
Yeah, it will be. Tell you the way it's going. But so yeah, my magic moments are Callum Cook's goal for Hartlepool against Rochdale. That free kick, I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. Thomas,
I didn't see that.
Thomas Asante's goal for the Albion against Bristol City.
Great
phenomenal ball, great ball, and he's just hit it first time. But and also Tom picked it out when we got back from Villa Park. I think we'd thawed out by the time we got back up to Bartley Green from Aston, and he said, "Oh, have you seen that? That's a magic moment." Martin Odegaard's nutmeg on Paqueta. It was sublime. He was in a tight little area, and he's just megged him and got away from two West Ham United players. And he looks a player, don't he, Odegaard?
When I not only did I pick Arteta, I went through one or two of these players, and I picked him out and all. And one or two people sent me private messages, maybe 6 months ago. How can you fancy him?
Yeah.
How can you not fancy him?
Yeah.
But the English, unless they don't get the sleeves rolled up, and work hard, they're not players. They think, they're lazy players. It's unbelievable.
But again, that's just what the English game is based upon. We done it last week. Work rate. Give me skill all day long over work rate.
We did talk about this, but I had to laugh at Warnock when he was on about Messi, how he finds it amazing in walking about on a pitch. Again, you take Jack Grealish walking about on a foot, they'd be going absolutely ballistic, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they would, yeah.
What he's right what he's saying, by the way.
Yeah.
Messi's doing,
yeah.
But they know that Messi can win a game for them.
Yeah.
Not only the manager, the players. So he's finding space. What's going to be dangerous so he can explode with or without the ball or passing the ball. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they just don't understand football.
We do not understand the game because all we are is channel balls or a long ball
Yeah.
or get it away from our goals as quick as possible. That's 85% of our coaches. And somebody will come back about Al at Newcastle. But I've always said Al and the kid at Chelsea, if they can handle the big name players, they have a chance. Because the philosophy of football is a lot different to majority of the English coaches.
And I think while we're talking about philosophy and Eddie Howe, I think you're absolutely spot on, as you always are too. You know, you played the game, you were in that dressing room, you've been around there, you've listened to the rhetoric. But when you look at Eddie Howe, at least 5 of those players, so that's half of the starting 11, played for Steve Bruce while they had Mike Ashley in charge, and the fans absolutely hated them pair. But he's come in with new owners. He spent a bit of money. He spent it wisely. But in particular, Dan Byrne, who we brought in, he's a Steve Bruce kind of player. So he hasn't gone out and bought extravagant players, but he's gone out and bought wisely.
What makes good managers is getting the best
exactly
out of the team.
Yeah.
What makes elite managers is balancing a team up and giving it more often than not. I keep telling people, doesn't mean that somebody sat on a bench or not in the team that is a bad player. If that manager likes that player and he gets the best out of him, everybody then will look, why ain't he been playing? Because a new manager comes in, puts some certain players into the team, and he looks a different player altogether. So what I'm going to say to you is this: it's getting a balanced team up together, right? There's more to it than meets the eye with that with me, because it's not just a balanced team, right? It's getting the best out of the team. It's giving players what can control the ball, what's composed on the ball, what can see a pass, what will take a risk without causing a problem more often than not. That's why Southgate keeps failing, right? I don't want to listen to people telling me he's done brilliant. No, he hasn't done brilliant. He's had 3 chances to win 3 major tournaments, right? Which is the European Championship and 2 World Cups. And he's blown it. He's blown it, right? Whether people like it or not, I say it as I see it. But that doesn't mean I don't think he's a nice man, because to me he looks a lovely man. But he's never going to be an elite manager.
Absolutely. Another nice man looks as though he's going to replace, or maybe replace, and he's in the conversation if what we're led to believe on, these news outlets is true, replacing another nice man, Dean Smith, who got fired at Norwich City, is Steve Bruce. I mean, if sacking Dean Smith is the if having Steve Bruce as the manager, sacking Dean Smith is not the question. It surely can't be. I mean, Bruce in at Norwich, a lovely, lovely man, Steve Bruce, and a lovely, lovely man, Dean Smith. But to get rid of Smith and then bring in Bruce, I can see that ending in tears.
Well, listen, I've no sympathy. I like little clubs like Norwich because always get 20,000 odd people into the ground.
Great club, brilliant club.
Always play decent football.
Yep.
When they had a run in the old first division,
where you gone to?
Semi-finals,
Yep.
Of Cup Winners' Cup. Was it Cup Winners' Cup? Or was it?
Who's that?
Cup Winners' Cup against Bayern Munich and all these,
They were certainly in European competition against Bayern Munich.
Not the Cup Winners' Cup. It'd probably be UEFA Cup.
It was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had a good soft spot for him. But Steve Bruce, it's about time. He's made all his money. Great kid, good footballer. Never going to be an elite manager. What can get the best out of players?
No chance. No chance. And if you're Norwich,
what they see in that, they probably said the right things, don't they?
Yeah, but again, if you're Norwich, surely you must think, well, I'm a middleweight at best in a heavyweight competition. I can't beat you pound for pound, But what we can do is bring in some great players, have a good youth academy, sell the players on for a profit, and do something similar to what Brighton and Brentford have done successfully. But you're never going to be, in the modern age now, punching your weight against the Manchester Uniteds, the Liverpools. Even Aston Villa are finding that difficult at the moment, although they have got terrific owners. And who knows, if they start spending money like they're suggesting that they're going to, Villa could be in that top 6, top 4. But you need such an awful lot of money now. It's almost as though the top Champions League clubs are run by states or billionaires.
Under Mourinho,
Yeah.
Van Gaal, they spent a fortune.
Yeah.
Man United, fortunes.
Yeah.
They've looked a shocking team.
What are you eating, son?
I've just picked up a Kellogg's Crunchy Nut.
Yeah, they're nice, they are, aren't they?
So I don't usually eat cereal. I just fancied one by looking at it.
I mean, you are so multi-talented. I mean, last week you were cleaning your teeth and doing it. Men can multitask. And now to Crunchy. Fantastic tea. Book Corner in association with myfootballbooks.com. Andy always sends us over a recommendation, and we have now done part 10 of our Football Book Corner, which is out on all your outlets that you get the podcasts from, where we look at a load of books and discuss them in a lovely, probably hour and a half up to 2 hours of just talking books. We don't know where we're going. We just start and then we end. But he sent us a book written by David Proudlove, When the Circus Leaves the Town, and it's about football clubs that have moved out of the areas. For instance, Bolton Wanderers moved out and then went to the Reebok Stadium as it first was, and other clubs that have moved out of their spiritual home, and moved out of the town centre to areas. I mean, Brighton of Hove Albion, they're out, aren't they? I think they're on a university, Tom said, when he went. He wasn't impressed. I know Tottenham have moved, I believe, just over the road. But lots of clubs now are moving out of town slightly, aren't they, and building big grounds out there.
Tottenham did was they built on the same ground.
Oh, is it actually on White Hart Lane?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're on the same ground.
Yeah, I should be having a look at it. I'm going to Tottenham Sunday.
But Middlesbrough, then what they did, they moved out onto industrial estates, didn't they?
Yep, they did. Yeah. And it looks at what they've left behind, because when they built the clubs and the grounds back in, I suppose, the early 1900s, they built it in areas like Birmingham City, for instance, in Small Heath and Aston Villa in Aston, where there was a local fan base there.
Well, the transport, save all the transport type of thing, wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. But moving out of there, how it's impacted the lives of those businesses, your paper shop, your local pub, etc., and say what impact it's had on their lives as they've gone out.
But when you think about that, and you look about what's been happening in the global world, the big stores have got richer.
Yes.
And it's affected the poor stores in and around
Absolutely.
the areas.
Yeah.
Fish and chip shops, little bakeries, little coffee shops, all little pubs and what have you. It's been a bit unreal to what they've done to some of these working class people, what had little businesses.
I think if you're looking at most of the brands these days, if you look at, say, Coca-Cola, etc., or Nike or Adidas or whatever big brands that you've got, global brands, they've bought up all their competitors, and that's why they're so big. So if you're looking at all the top brands in the world, it's all this global domination, if you like. And you're right. Yeah. I think football has been very similar, where everything's been swallowed up by a most unwelcome beast. And in this book, it's a lovely little book about when the circus leaves the town, and so it'd be a very interesting read, because football does mirror life, and what goes on in life goes on in football, and the impact of football clubs leaving their homes and how it's impacted on their regulars. From beauty to duty, a footballing history of Uruguay, 1878 to 1917 by Martin de Cruz. Uruguay, a country that really does punch above its weight.
Above his weight,
Yeah,
without
won
a
the World
question
Cup
of a
twice,
doubt.
and they. I mean, what are there? About 3 million people in Uruguay, and they're always in the World Cup finals, aren't they? We moan about some of our
They get to
nations.
quarterfinals on a regular basis,
Yeah,
don't
they
they?
do. Yeah, again, just a hotbed of football and football players. Croatia is another one. I know that Croatia, it
Different
was
coaching, Gabby.
absolutely.
Different coaching. Everybody else has advanced.
Yeah,
We have stood still. That's what people say. We've got to, a semi-final, a final, and a quarter-final. We still, when players come over here, they always, you hear any fan, they'll always say, why are they technically better than us?
yeah,
Call coaching.
yeah. Of course it is.
Call coaching.
But again, a great pedigree of football. You look at both Croatia, which was Yugoslavia when I was growing up, and then they broke up and they're all little countries. I mean, Serbia isn't so much a little country, but Croatia is, and Croatia have done really well in recent times in the World Cup. And Uruguay have always done well in the World Cup, of course. Won the first World Cup in their own country in 1930, and then beat Brazil in 1950 in the year that the Maracanã was built for the kings of football, which was Brazil. But talk about party poopers. But that does look an exceptionally good book. Of course, the World Cups won't be in it because it is from 1878 to 1917. But I do believe there's another book on its way. I mean, it takes a long time to write these books. I mean, some of these writers, I mean, the work that they put in to write a book, but I'm guessing that takes you up to, the end of the First World War, so it'll be after. But what a great footballing nation, a Uruguay. From beauty to duty by Martin de Cruz. And then
Yeah, and by the way, they won the World Cup. It's
twice.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
twice. 1930 and 1950.
yeah.
First. I would say the first team to win it twice, but they wasn't, because Italy was the first
Really.
nation to win it twice in 34 and 38, and third in the trilogy, Inside Diego. It's written by his personal trainer Fernando Signori, with Luciano Wernicke and Fernando Molina. So again, there's so many Diego Maradona books out there. I think anyone that's ever picked up a pen has written
And rightly
something
so,
about
because
Maradona.
regardless what majority of English think of him, calling him a cheat, he's done no different to what you would have done or majority of English people would have done. Now, that's for the referee and the linesman to see it and disallow the goal.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before on the podcast.
You will find a lot. It's typical English, or it's not. But we're not bothered about winning. It's about taking part.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it before on the podcast. Paul Scholes done it against
Terry Henry did it.
Zenit
Against Ireland.
Zenit St. Petersburg. It was a handball. It scored from it, corner, scored from it, goals disallowed because it was picked up and it was disallowed. It wasn't picked up in Maradona's case, but it is. When people go on about Maradona and his cheating, if that would have been England that would have done it, they would have absolutely loved it. Football is just full of hypocrites, and the hypocrisy in football knows no bounds or levels. But the level of Maradona was one of the greatest of all time, and this book is another take on one of the greatest. I don't like to say who's the greatest. I mean, Pele. He's up there. Maradona, he's up there. Lionel Messi, he's up there. George Best, Johan Cruyff, Puskas, Di Stefano. Yeah, the list goes on, and they're all great. But again, when we opened up the show,
all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We did I did call Pele the GOAT, and I think that there is an argument that Pele was the greatest, and he is the only player to have won the World Cup 3 times, although in 62 I think he only played one game. And many Brazilians would argue that Garrincha was a better player than Pele. It's all opinions, and you can't have more than one GOAT. So the argument will run and run, but Pele was a fantastic football. And I have had a couple of books for Christmas here. Football
Three World
Nation,
Cups, three World Cups.
absolutely
So
too.
go down as as the real GOAT, and because he was the first to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things that Pele done, we've seen all the bits and pieces, the YouTube clips and that. I mean, he was just off.
Never forget, all these great players today learned them from Pele, and the George Best and the Cruyffs of this world.
Absolutely. And when he went to New York Cosmos, Henry Kissinger had to go to Brazil to convince the president that Pele could play in America. So I'm guessing that there was a few trade deals that went on. That's how big Pele was. And when Pele signed for the Cosmos, football really did take off in America. And again, so when you look at legacies that players have left, I don't think anybody is going to leave a greater legacy than Edson Arantes de Nascimento. But Football Nation, a footballing history of Brazil by David Goldblatt, I got that. And another book that I just want to give it a shout out to is Angels with Dirty Faces, Jonathan Wilson, his book on the Argentinian footballing history have just won the World Cup for the third time. Brazil have won it five
Great
times,
name
of course.
great name for the Argies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Angels with dirty faces.
It
Because
is.
they're great football, but they were dirty.
They've always played a game that's based on skill and what's now commonly known as dark arts, haven't they?
Yes.
They've all Uruguay as well a little bit. To be fair, you look at the
But although
Uruguayans.
South America, I don't think Brazil, you could class them.
No, I think Brazil have always been the purists, haven't they?
Yeah.
Apart from when they played Holland in 1974 and they kicked the Dutch off the pitch. I remember that day. I thought, my word, how the Brazilians have changed.
I will agree with that, yes.
But apart from that game, Brazil have always played the beautiful game, and that's where the phrase comes from. Brazil in 1970, and Sam Kunte has written a wonderful book that I shall be buying shortly about Brazil of 1970 and how they won the World Cup and arguably became the greatest football team ever to win that World Cup. Topics of the week, we're in and out of topics. I did notice something on social media. Over 200,000 people now have signed a petition to replay the World Cup final between France and Argentina. I thought, well, good luck with that. You've got a snowball's chance in hell. In fact, you've got more chance of platin fog. Why do they do things like this, T?
Well, what's it all about?
Excuse me. I think one of the goals, there was the subs were on warming up and they were on the pitch. Technically, they shouldn't have been. So I think they're just looking at technicalities, etc., etc. But whether they were, whether they weren't, the game took place. Argentina won the World Cup fairly and squarely.
That's how woke the game's got.
Exactly, it's crazy. And I looked at it and I just
thought,
thought,
the smaller ones, what make the bigger noise, are winning now.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. But I looked at that.
Happen, by the way.
No, of course it wouldn't. I mean, it's absolutely got no chance. And I don't know why they bother. Just get over it. You were beaten by the better team on the day. And these things happen in football. Congratulations to Erling Haaland. Scored 20 Premier League goals now in 14 games, which is a record. Having said that, at the same stage, Dixie Dean had scored 25. So, yeah, that is the Premier League. I get that. But let's look at football in its entirety.
By the way, it's only a Premier League record.
Of course it is, yeah.
It's the record.
Of course it is, but they never go back to who's scored. Who was the first to score 20 goals? Of course they do. Of course they do. And that's what I'm saying. Now, Pele's passed away. All these outlets are jumping on it. But, 24 hours ago, they were all jumping up and down about Haaland has scored 20 goals quicker than anybody else. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. Dixie Dean did.
I thought Jack played a lot better, yes, well, especially second half.
First half, he was terrible, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It just...
Well, he's going back. they are doubling up on him. I will say.
Yeah,
that.
they are. I agree with
They
that.
are doubling up on
Yeah.
him. You know, but he's got to get himself in a better position or better body shape to go forward.
Absolutely.
But they do kick him. They do kick him.
100%.
Regardless what people say, you know, is inviting it. Well, whether you're inviting it or not, they're fouling him. I mean, the one when the kid in the second half absolutely belted him. You know, you think, what's he done that? And